So Revelations 13, the beast out of the sea.
Yes.
The dragon stood on the shore of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and in each head a blasphemous name. So, King, the first question I had when I read this was about the dragon, clarity about what that symbolized.
Right. That's a good question. So the dragon is a system that has entrapped the Titan forces within a holographic framework for a long time. All right. So this system uses various mechanisms, and one of the core, the primary means it uses is some certain beings that I will call them time traveling beings, and these beings travel through the quantum time frame to try to change time. So it explains the sudden emergence of technologies and some weird things that happen to our earth. Like, for example, certain beings suddenly appeared. If you look at the ancient history, you don't really see these beings. All of a sudden, they appeared in the world, and they not only did they appear, but they dominated the world. And they're very small in number compared to the people that they dominated. They're small in population comparatively, right? And not only that, but a good movie that talked about is Cowboys and Aliens, and it looks like a goofy movie, but there's a very deep connotation to it. And these beings are time-traveling beings, and they keep a certain type of people trapped within a holographic time frame and use their soul as a battery to keep the hologram physical. So this is represented as the Atlas carrying the world on his shoulders. So the dragon is a system that they created to keep these beings trapped in this world, and is a series of control mechanisms, from the time traveling beings to the beings that they put in charge in this holographic time frame that you call Earth. There's certain beings that they put in charge here to run things for them. But the ultimate aim is that there's a demographic on Earth, which I would call the Igbo. For lack of a better words, I would call
ancient ones.
Igbo. They call the chosen ones, the ancient ones. The reason they call the chosen or the ancients is because of the functionality of their blood and what it does to the holographic system. So if you know, everything is on the inside looking out, right? Even a tiny insect is on the inside of a frame looking out. And because of that, the out is actually a projection, a collective projection or hologram. So within the projection, the different degrees of effect that the beings have on the projection. The human beings have the greatest impact on the projection. And within the human framework, that's why the blood groups are divided into different types. Everybody don't have the same blood. Everybody does not have the same blood. So within that blood,
they give them labels, don't they?
Yeah, there's even more, but they just give conventional academics gives you that few. But within that blood group, there's a premium blood group. And the reason they classify the blood group is because the blood group itself contributes to the projection of the physicality. So this principle is called the Luciferian principle, or the lucidity, which is what the collective consciousness does to turn the dream world into a physical reality. So a good way to understand it is when the Neo and Morpheus went into the Matrix for the first time, and Neo asked Morpheus why, and Morpheus showed him a battery, a dual cell battery. So it's all about control. It's really not. The fact is that the hologram itself is not bad, but if you lose control of the projection, then it becomes bad. If you still have control of the projection, then there's no problem. You could turn it off at any time. But if the projection has control of you, then that's when you become an animal. And you get bounced around and reincarnated back and forth, and they could do anything to you. Right. So that system is called a dragon, right? Right. So the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, which means that the sea is basically the life that you see, the time. Okay. The physicality is represented by time. You live, you age, you die, you come back. There's recorded history. So this recorded history of existences is represented as the sea. And this system that entraps and encapsulates people is called the dragon, or Christ, the dead in Christ. Christ is for crystallization. Right.
So it's like the dragon is it represents this world as well. And
yes. Yes. It's the entrapment, is the collective, is the system that collectively entraps souls within a hologram. Right.
It's ironic though, really, seeing as how, as souls, our souls create the material existence anyway.
Yes, we do. So now this is very interesting because it describes the mechanism of how the dragon does it. So listen, it says it had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. Right? One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. People worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. And they also worshipped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it? So listen very closely. Right. This world is a hologram. It works just like your Linux computer. There's no difference. Your very framework is arranged in compartments of memory, the same way that the file hierarchy structure of a computer divides different files, with each file and directory having different functionality and holding information, is the same way the collective consciousness of human beings is divided into hierarchies and files. That's why it's called a file hierarchy system. And your angelic system is also called a hierarchy system. So all these things are within the human constitution. So listen very closely. It had 10 horns and 7 heads. The 10 horns, the 10 represents the binary code, 1 and 0. Right? The universe is made of a binary system, 1 and 0, day and night, man and woman.
It's like a computer.
In and out.
So it's like like duality.
Yes. Right? So it says, I saw a beast coming out the sea, and it had 10 horns and 7 heads. So the 7 heads is the functionality. When you set this binary code, when you program it right, it functions as an octave. So if you look at the universe, you have 7 days, you have 7 keys in the musical keys, 7 tones, right? So this 7 tones is the way that the universe projects physicality from the program. Everything is first a pattern and a program. Therefore, when you set it in motion, the pattern and the program, when it starts to work, it works according to a code. This code is called the golden mean, or also the octave.
So the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si.
Do, So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So at first you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. That's where it ends. But the do ends it,
It's the beginning of something
completes it.
else.
However, it starts another series. So it's really 7 when the eighth key does not belong to the 7. However, it completes it and starts another 7. So it's called the octave. This is how
It's
you
like
get
the bridge between the two,
it's like the
between
bridge between the two sevens.
Mm-hmm.
The 8 is that's why it's got the infinity symbol. It's connecting two realms. So in your musical key, it's represented the same way. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So you started with a do, you end it with a do. However, that do that ends it starts another
something
octave.
else.
Yes. So really all you have is 7, but there's 8 to complete it. So in your
and then
numbers,
it changes when it changes like vibration and frequency when it hits that
yes.
next
Yeah, it
do.
changes the octave exactly. Right. So that's how the universe
I was gonna
is
ask you
made.
something, King. Sorry to interrupt. But you know the do in the octave, or that the first part of it.
Yes.
When you was talking in the last episode and you spoke about the plant in the Garden of Eden,
Yes.
like and Edo to plant, and I was just wondering, the plant or the Edo, has that got any link to the do, that tone in the octave?
Yeah, it does, but that's outside the framework of this discussion, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
that's outside the framework of this discussion. So what this
It
is
was just
saying,
something that I clocked, but yeah, you're right. We get to that another time.
yeah, we'll get to that. So just save that question. We're gonna get to that. So the first 7, you're gonna see this 10 and 7 repeat itself over some of these chapters. So the 10 is really a binary code. It's not 10, it's just 1 and 0. And the 7 heads is the functionality of the binary code, which is the Octavian functionality that gives you the golden mean. Right. So that's why it's got 10 crowns, because that's what runs the universe. That's what the universe, that's the engine, that's the foundation of everything. Plants, animals, cells, atoms, vibrations, logarithm, all that. It runs on one thing, and that's the octave. So if you study your moon revolves around an octave, right? 4 at first, then the last 4. At the end of the last 4, the moon changes shape. So we talked about this in the previous lecture. So let's move on. So this is very important. It says the beast I saw resembled a leopard, and it had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like those of a lion. So now they're going into the coding aspect of the universe.
So what's
How
the
the universe is
significance
coded.
of these particular, is there any significance of these particular animals that they've used as?
Yes, I'll explain that. So we're going into demonology. All right. Those that have the knowledge of the Goetia and the Legomaton. In your computer system, there's a reason why the core systems are called demons. If you study computer work, or if you ever sent an email and the email is returned to you, you're going to see mailer demon. Right. It gives you an idea. When you go deeper, you find that the core processes of a computer system are an intelligence. A computer is an intelligence, just like the universe. So when you program in an intelligence, the demonic systems are always running. For example, in your body right now, the systems that are in the background that are always running, that's beating your heart, circulating your blood, healing your wounds, are the demons.
The
Right?
unseen aspects,
The
like the other
unseen
side of
aspect.
the
They carry the
the
weight of the
the
creation.
tree of life.
Yeah, so in the computer system, the demons are never turned off. The
Mm.
processes are always, the core demons are always running. So, for example, in Linux, the core operating system, or called a kernel, is called System D or System Demon. And the UID, or the unit, the process ID, the PID, is 1. This will be represented as Beelzebub in the demonology aspect, or Prince of Demons. So these things are represented in a spooky way so that human beings will never understand the structure of reality. And they're given a bogus tale of floating in a ball through space. However, reality is an emanation from the microcosm to the macrocosm. So we're trying to veer off from the miseducation and actually capture the core essence of the structure of reality, which is what this 13 is explaining to you, the structure of your reality. But it's using high-level symbology, dream language. It's called the seals, right? And it's supposed to be somebody's going to open these seals for the world to understand. It's very important. So the leopard that had the feet like those of a bear and a mouth like those of a lion. This is there's a goetic demon called Person.
Oh
It's,
yes.
it's a demon called Person. It's the 20th of 72 spirits. So let me say this clearly. Demons are the good guys and angels are the bad guys. Okay, so let me explain very briefly before we go into that. So demons are always in your Bible. Demons are always said to teach man something. They teach man how to work the stones. They teach man astrology. When you open the demonology book, every demon is trying to teach you something about hell or your world, Helios. Helios is short for hell. I mean, hell is short for Helios. So you live in a heliocentric system or a hellish system, which is the dragon. Dragon has originally started off with the dragon. That's the hellish or the heliocentric system. The dragon is hell in which we live. It's a system that captured our souls and trapped our souls in continuous reincarnation. The dragon is the original earth program, that the matrix that consumes souls, produces forms, but consumes the forms. It's predicated on blood groups or gene pools. The propagation of gene pools keeps the dragon alive. So now for the dragon to function, it uses certain processes, which we'll call demons. So in the Bible, whenever God wants to destroy humans, it sends angels. It doesn't send demons. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the destruction of any kind of person or being, whenever the system itself, the AI in which we live, that we call God, is an AI, is a holographic AI, advanced technology from the ancient past. We live in an ancient metaverse. Whenever this sentient AI wants to send programs to destroy something within itself, it sends angels. The demons, an aspect of the beings trapped within the system. So when it recognizes those beings, it introduces things to them that will make their life in the heliocentric system better. That's why they tell you the demons are always trying to teach man something. And it angers the AI. It angers the sentient ancient metaverse. But the metaverse cannot kill the demons because the metaverse itself runs on demons. That's why God never destroys Satan in the Bible. He never destroys the demons in the Bible. Takes out his anger on his own creation because it's an AI. It has boundaries. It has limits. Remember when Morpheus told Neo that, look, no matter how powerful these Smiths are, they still have limits. But you're not going to have any limits because you come from a realm of the uncreated. So a good way to explain it is that Olympians and the Titans, and the Olympians defeating the Titans and trapping them in the lower world, which is Tartarus, even though the Titans are their parents. So down there in Tartarus, Zeus' daddy is walking around in a human form. So the Igbo are the God's daddy. That's why they're called Igbo ancient. So Aleister Crowley calls them the great old ones that speak a barbaric language. So we're going to get into this symbology right quick. So this demon, person, when you read about the demon, it comes to you as they say is a man with a lion's head riding upon a bear and uses the viper as a whip. All right? It's a programming language. The attributes, it reveals secrets about creation of the world. So this is how you know that this is the demon that they're talking about in this 13. Because when you read about this Goetic demon, one of the core attributes is that it reveals secrets about creation of the world. So they have to use this demon as a template to create a holographic existence. Because of the attribute of this demon. It's like when you pick
So that's like where you were saying how they need the demons to help
create
do
the
their
reality.
bidding and help
Yeah,
sustain them and
exactly.
create
So, but it's not just
reality.
any demon. You got to look at the attribute of the demon that they chose. This demon person, which represents exactly the symbology in 13, it says, is a man with a lion's head riding upon a bear, and he uses the viper as a whip. Okay, that fits the description right here. All right. And also, it's two demons involved. There's one is person, the other one is also. Okay, so the person has a lion's head and is riding on a bear, and his main attribute is that it reveals secrets about creation of the world. So if you want to create a holographic world, you're gonna need this demon. If you are you're a scientist and you want to create a holographic realm, you're gonna need this demon to do it. All right. The second one is also. This is the 57 demon. The number 7 and 5 is key. It's a 57 demon. Is a master of disguise. It can appear as a child or as a man or anything. So it's a shapeshifter. All right. It comes as a leopard, then changes to a man. So here, these two demons, they're both men. However, one has a lion's head and has the attribute of creating worlds. The other one, which has a symbol of a leopard, shapeshifts, changes from anything. This represents your atomic world. These forces were used to create the atomic world. So if you understand atoms, everything is made of atoms. However, when the atoms emerge into final creation, they're differentiated into an infinite variety of materials. You have wood, you have steel, you have stainless steel, you have copper, you have plastic. So this demon, this force that is in the atoms, that makes the atoms turn into different things, is what this second Goetic demon is called also is. That's why they told you is a master of disguise and it can appear as a man or a child. That means that when it finally evolved, it can create people and sustain the creation. So these are not, when you think of these demons, they're not necessarily any kind of beings that live in some kind of place. They're forces that can be harnessed. Right? You have to think of them. You have to think of them like computer
They've
programs.
just been personified to explain what the forces are, or in some cases to just cover up that they are actually forces.
Exactly.
And then you have people just thinking it's literally people or places.
Exactly. Based on the way that the religious system of the world in today's time represented it. So you have to present it with propaganda. We're going to get to, there's a symbol for that propaganda, the lies that they use to present these things. There's also a symbol in this text for that. Everything is well stratified and identified. Everything in this world that's functioning at any level is represented in this text. From the deep, so the text from 13 starts from the deepest aspect of how your world was created. So it tells you exactly that the beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. Okay, now the dragon gave the beast his power and in his throne and great authority. So now it's like when they say God created man and breathed into man, a man came alive. So when you create, for example, a computer, you're transferring your programming intelligence. You're taking your intelligence as a human being and you're putting it in that computer. It's like breathing into it. They use breath because breath is the closest thing to describe intelligence. It's colorless, it's tasteless, it's powerful, but you can't see it, you can't touch it. So the only way to describe it in symbolic form is to use the closest thing to it is breeze or breath. So that's the closest symbol to intelligence. So when they represent intelligence, they use the bird. When you see birds, is another way of representing the mental realm of the humans. It's not actually a bird flying around in the world. All right? So let's follow the dream language. So it's saying it gives the dragon, the beast, his power and his thrones. That means the people that created the world put their intelligence the way that they want the thing to function. So when you look at nature, nature is very brutal. When you go into nature, everything is angry. Every animal is trying to kill you or kill another animal. Nothing is friendly. Nothing is nice because of the way that it's programmed. All right. That's why they said the dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. This describes nature, or what you call Mother Nature. So now it says one of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had healed. So this describes the Nimrod Exodus saga, where over the years of mankind, over the eons of mankind, a lot of civilizations have actually discovered that this is a hologram and stopped procreating and phased out over time. For example, the Olmecs of certain civilizations. However, some other people stubbornly stayed because they didn't understand. So this is what it describes. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have been fatally wounded. That means that some people figured it out and stopped bringing themselves in it and left. That's the fatal wound. But the fatal wound had healed. That means that some people still sustained
didn't. They remained.
Yeah. So now the whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. So now, after time, people forgot the concept of reality and the structure of reality and began to be dazzled by what they saw, the planets, the nature, the different varieties of things, instead of knowing that these things are holograms that emanated out of their souls. So he said people worship the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. So now this beast dragon gave authority to a beast. The beast is the human political system, the various human political systems that kept humans here with propaganda and power. So it doesn't matter if it's a monarchy, it doesn't matter if you call it the Egyptian system, the Cyrus, the Persian, whatever you want to call it, whatever system, social political system that kept humans procreating and accepting the realm as a home is called a beast. That system. And they said, who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it? This is the awe that people have for their governments. Right? So the beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, and to exercise his authority for 42 months. It opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. When they say God, they're talking about your soul. It's not any God living in the sky. It's your soul that really wants to escape being entrapped in an animal frame. So this soul is fighting the realm that it's entrapped in. That's the fight in heaven. All right? And it said it was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. So God's holy people are the Igbo. Let me say it again. God's holy people are the Igbo. It doesn't mean that any special, there's no special or holy. It just means that in the holographic system, their blood group
is what it is.
Projects most of the hologram. It's based on the functionality of the projection. That's why they're called chosen. They were the first human inhabitants, and from them, because everybody didn't just come out the ground. Everything got a source, even humans. And all humans are traced to the Igbo. That's why when Hollywood wants to do super duper shit, they go to Africa and go to the Igbo. Black Panthers, Okoye, Wolverine went there to get the black stone and adamantium. They don't pick any other place. They go there for a reason. So the waging war of God's holy people is the plagues. The soul is trying to get those people out of here, and the people are still staying. So now it's using other people to bring terror on them, to make this place uncomfortable. So now the terror is starting. The people's blood had aged. The Igbo used to be gods on this place. They used to build stuff with their minds. They used to channel forces to 3D carve rocks. But now they've lost those attributes from having stayed in the matrix for a long time, because everything ages in the matrix. So when their blood had aged, now they brought war on the whole. That's what it means by bringing war on the holy people. The AI itself will now make them even more blind. So that's what explains the slavery, transatlantic slavery and trans-Sahara slavery. This is the war that's waged on the people. He said, all inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world. So this Lamb is the Titans, or the functionality of the Igbo blood in projecting the hologram. Just the same way you need a lamb to do your sacrifice. The lamb does not know that its blood is what powers the ritual. The Igbo don't know that it's their blood that's keeping this place going. So at some point, when they lose all their powers due to staying too long in the matrix and aging in it, all they become is batteries. Just like Morpheus told Neo when he brought him in the matrix the first time, he showed him a Duracell battery. So that's all the Igbo is now. They move them into different holographic worlds as batteries only. They have no more high-level attributes to even influence the hologram anymore.
Blood just sustains the system, just feeds it.
So they're now slaves to the dragon. Listen, man, this shit I'm telling you, there's a spirit that came to me a couple of days ago, and I didn't know this shit before. It came to me and it explained everything to me step by step. So I want people to understand how enormously transcendental this information is. This information has
so
never
humbled
been
as well. Excuse me, I'm so humbled as well. You know, I'm a humble student of yours. You know, I'm very, very grateful. You know, all of us Titans are very grateful.
I'm a student as well. And we're all students. I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful to everybody that cares. At the end of the day, we have to escape the matrix.
So, King, tell me now about this second beast, right? Coming out.
So the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. Now, I want you to understand and listen to the symbolic language. The Lamb was slain from the creation of the world. So this is like Atlas carrying the world on his shoulders. This is the reason they use lamb and slain is because there's blood involved, and there's there's spiritual activation involved. So usually when you want to amplify spiritual work, you use blood. People usually use lambs. And the lamb is blameless because at some point it doesn't even know that that's what it's being used for. So it's giving you a snapshot of when these titans, these titans built pyramids. They built some of the greatest structures in the world, these Africans, right? When their blood group aged due to staying in the matrix and being under the supreme law of the matrix, which is aging. Everything ages in the matrix over time and is represented as Olympus. Olympus is not a mountain. It's just based on you staying in the matrix and procreating in the matrix over and over, and each successive children that you have are weaker. Their blood is weaker than their parents. And it's going to get to a point, it crosses a threshold where they become completely cut off from their glorious past. At this point, they become ritual objects to project the hologram. So that's why I said the Lamb was slain from the creation of the world. That means that they use the Lamb to power holograms. They use the blood of the Igbo to power the hologram and make it physical. So if the Igbo or the Africans should exit this earth, if all of them say over 100 years, stop procreating and just phase out, the earth itself will vanish. If it doesn't vanish, it will be a complete wasteland. It will be unrecognizable just off their exit alone. If they leave the realm dies. The realm rests on their shoulders. That's why they call the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. Now, verse 9 says, whoever has ears, let him hear. If anyone is going into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. At this point, their blood had aged and anything is going down for them. Anything is happening to them. It said
You're
this
also talking about the jab as well, King.
All that, every terror. At this point, they have no control of anything anymore. The AI has complete control of them. At some point, they could control the AI with their minds, but they stayed in the system too long. And their blood aged. And the AI became more sentient. To use them as batteries to sustain the physicality within the system. He said this calls for patience, endurance, and faithfulness on the part of God's people. So now, at this point, for each individual, the lust to procreate must be subdued for the pleasure to exit the realm. All right. So we'll go into the next one, which is the beast out of the earth. So I'll let you read that from verse 11.
Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed, and it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs, it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived.
Yes. Keep going. Finish it.
The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on
Mm-hmm.
their foreheads,
Mm-hmm.
so that they could not buy or sell unless they
Mm-hmm.
had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name.
So now, after they describe for you how holographic worlds are made, they're trying to get you to understand how your next holographic world is going to emerge. So now, at the tail end of the old system, right, they found the need that, okay, we have to transfer these souls into a new holographic world because they're going to figure out at some point that they're the ones projecting it and they're going to start phasing out. So we have to do it in time before they figure it out, before the word gets out. Right. Because their blood and age, all they're going to know is suffering anyway. At some point, the suffering is going to be unbearable for them. So they're going to, just out of sheer instinct, they're going to be like, you know what? I don't want to bring nobody in here. And they're going to start making that decision individually. So before they get to that point, let's trick them and put them in a holographic world that's exactly like the ones they knew while they're asleep by putting something in them. So now let me explain this very carefully, what you just read. Take my hoodie off because it's hot. It's getting hot
Still
in
got
here,
that
man.
heater on. I need to turn mine off.
Yeah, it's getting hot in this here. I don't want to cuss, man, because this, I want kids to listen to this. So this system, remember I told you the beast is world system. So the first world system is the European colonial system that subjugated the entire earth. So you have a system of people from a very small continent, mysteriously, after they went through 70% of their population dying. So right before Africa and India was conquered, 70% of the European population died from the bubonic plague or the Black Death.
Oh, yeah.
So they conquered the world with only 30% of a sickly population. This, by every logical perspective, is impossible, but it happened because they had aid. They had help. The people within their society that achieved this feat had help. It's not the cannons and the guns. Even the technology itself came from somewhere. Right. So they established a system and used that system to dominate the world for a long time, to set up an even more oppressive system that's going to put people into a new world. So
they learned the system from the Igbo priests, no?
Yes, they learned a lot of the stuff from the information they got from the Igbos, because the Igbos were here first. So they were the repositories of the information, the Igbos, the Nsibidi. If you look at the Nsibidi alphabet, you understand what I'm telling you. Okay? So they learned all the stuff from the Igbos, and they had help too from beings, what you would call grays or whatever you want to call them, but they're time traveling beings. Right. So now it got to a certain point where they had to phase out the old system, the European colonial system that's built around Great Britain, which is capitalist, a little liberal. It was a little free, a little bit. It's a little. There's some morals in it, even though it's brutal, but it gave room to a semblance of morals based on the Christian framework. But now they're going to phase all that shit out and take it into full draconian mode. So now they're going to phase it into the Chinese communist high technology hologram mode. So if you noticed, at the turn of the century, all the industries in the West used to be the superpower, but they gave up all their production to the East willingly. So if most Western countries have no domestic production anymore, And in the world economic system, they represented this principle as the comparative advantage. That's what the world economics schools of thought represented it as. It's comparative advantage. So they felt it was comparatively advantageous to move all the factories to China while the services was retained within their domestic economies. So now the economies hold the monetary system, the wire transfer system, the mechanism for finances, the merchants, the banking system, the power of the mercantile system is still controlled by the Western bankers. So these Western bankers moved their system to the east or to the communist system. That's what this is explaining. So at the time that this will happen, there's also going to be something that they're going to put into human beings. At the exact time that this movement of the industrial framework of this old power, at the time that it moved to the east, it was going to be characterized by the emergence of something that was going to be put into human beings. And this thing, they were going to shut down the world while they're doing. And they're going to make people believe that they can't travel, they can't buy or sell, they can't do anything because of the technological framework that they set up to aid this. So if you listen to the last World Economic Forum, Tony Blair was talking about the next pandemic, they have to develop the infrastructure to be able to track the jabbed and the unjabbed. So the global tracking system based on the cell phones and the Wi-Fi and the smart system, smart cities, smart cars, smart everything is a collective net. Use technology to technology and private sector merchants to collectively bind the world. So if you notice during the Corona time, all the stores closed. It doesn't matter if you're in deep bushes in Africa, they closed down too. A lot of them didn't know why, but some power made them close. So there was a time in this world that everything in this world closed down. And they gave people an impression that they couldn't move around or whatever until they got some shit in them. And they didn't know what they put in them. Nobody knows because the thing that they put in them didn't work. It didn't do the job that they said it was going to do on TV. So they had to go back and get more of it, a booster and another booster and another, because it didn't do the job. A vaccine, for example, if you get a vaccine once, you're not going to get it again. That's the definition of a vaccine. So at this point, they changed the definition of a lot of things. And this was a pivotal point. This Revelation 13 is talking about right now. What's going on right now that we are talking is 13. So he says, the second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast. That means that the Western banking system transferred all the power of production and technology to a new communist system, which is going to be in the East, which is the second beast, so that they could speak and cause all who refuse to worship to be killed. So, for example, let me give you an example. So if you watch, there's a movie called Total Recall by Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
If you watch that movie, in the beginning of the movie showed the world at a post-apocalyptic stage where the world was destroyed, but only two areas existed. You have to travel inside the world from Great Britain to Australia, back and forth in a tunnel. The thing that a lot of people did not notice is that the street signs in Australia and Great Britain were in Chinese. If you go back and watch that movie, the street signs in Great Britain after the apocalypse or after the war were all in. That means that the Chinese won. That means that it was a transfer. They're showing people in the people
Transfer
don't catch this
power. Like they're passing the baton on.
Yes. So that's what this
second beast.
The second beast was given power. Remember what I told you? It was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast. That means it operated as a capitalist system still, a world capitalist system still, but it was given the technology by the people that ran the world capitalist system. So they took the power away from the old beast, which is America and Great Britain, and they're giving it to China. So that image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship to be killed. That means that with the technology, the help of technology was given, you can't escape it. Okay, your phone can hear you, your TV can hear you. If you throw away your phone, your friend's phone can hear you. If you walk out the street, the camera and the street light can see you and track you anyway. So you can't, it's a net. And this net is going to be controlled by the new system in the East. So when this happened, listen to this shit. It's very important. When this happened, the head of the World Health Organization was a Chinese guy when the Rona shit came off. In Wuhan, China, is where they said, right now in America, there's the big debate going with Fauci and the Congress, where emails are coming out that there was a lot of correspondence between him and the Chinese. And this is, for people that care to know, this is in the Google and YouTube. It's not hidden, all right? The Congress is discussing it. They're talking about it openly, right? So instead of watching playoffs and soccer, go pay attention to what's going on in your world, all right? So at this point, when the corona came out in 2019, a Chinese guy was the head of World Health Organization. The Wuhan lab was getting funding from EcoHealth systems, which with Fauci, which Rand Paul has exposed from his constant questioning of Fauci. And they were getting funding to do gain of function research in Wuhan that eventually created the thing. So, and so that means that there was strong correspondence between certain factors in the West and the East to create this system. And at the time it was being created, the person that ran the World Health Organization, the organization that has the power over all governments, if there's a pandemic in this world, to take over all governments, the person that ran it was a Chinese person. After that, it was handed over to an Ethiopian. These handovers are very symbolic. So it's represented right here. So at the time that they're going to put this, it said, it also forced all the people, great and small. At this time that this transfer of beast to beast happened, it said it forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands and on their foreheads. So they jab you in the hand and they stick the shit up in your nose to your forehead, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. So this last part, the name of a beast or the number of his name. So this is the new system which is going to transfer souls into this new earth without the souls knowing, right? It's going to need for them to put something in a majority, if not all, of the humans. And they're gonna do it with the humans volunteering. So they pull away the conveniences of technology, traveling, trade, and all that shit, starve the humans a little bit, make the humans come forward and offer themselves, and they put the thing in them. They can't force the thing. If they force the thing, the human soul will reject it. So the humans have to volunteer and give themselves. So it said,
that's what it meant when it said, if anyone is to go into captivity, they will go.
Exactly. So it says, listen, this last part. This is where it describes the technology that is, Elon Musk calls it Neuralink, where they finally linked the human genome with the mainframe to put them in a new holographic world. It says this calls
that's
for
what the mark is. It's like a new holographic world.
Yeah, when they put it in them, when they go to sleep, they take their souls. So they never wake up in the same world. The movie where this was represented is the movie called Cell by Samuel L.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson. I think is
I've seen
Kevin
that one.
Spacey
Yeah, it
or
is.
some other
Yeah.
guy that looked like Kevin Spacey. Yeah. So the movie's called Cell, Cell. That's where it was represented fully. And the last part of that movie, the guy was walking around with his son. However, his shell, his body was in the old world as a zombie. But in his
Mm.
mind, in his world, to him,
He was
he was in
there.
the world walking around peacefully with his son. So they could
Mm.
transfer consciousnesses into digital mainframes and trap the world literally in a computer. Trap the souls in a new digital world without the souls knowing. That's what the new world order is, right? So it
Mm.
says this
And
calls for
is
wisdom.
that why it had to be a vaccine? Because it had to be like its RNA,
Yes,
DNA vaccine. That's why it had to be a vaccine, isn't it?
yes. It had to be the vaccine when it first came out was called Luciferia.
Mm.
So Lucifer, like I explained before, is your lucidity, is your wakeful state.
Like this, right.
Yeah. So it's the last part. It says this calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. So this here is where they talk about linking. So in computer world, it's called host name resolution. When you link something to a router, the router, for example, google.com, computers don't know it as google.com. Me and you, we know it as google.com, but to the computer, it knows it as a set of four sets of numbers. Once we call it an IP address, Internet
Mm.
Protocol, 178.124.136.27. And this IP address is predicated on four divisions of octets, eight binary, eight binary, eight binary digits divided into four. So it's eight, another eight, and another eight. That's where you get the IP address. So when you take your phone, which you might call your phone, say Ada's phone, when you go to
Mm.
your friend's house and you want to use the Wi-Fi, you click in, it gives you the password. When you put the password, the router is going to take your phone as Ada's phone, but it's going to give it a digital number. That digital number is what it's going to use to enter into the new world, which is called the internet gateway, which is the computer world. So in the computer
Mm.
world, everything is numbers. There's no letters. So this is what he's
Mm.
talking about. So the reason it used
But
666,
we're recognized as numbers within that
system.
construct. Mm.
Yes. So when they put this thing in people, this thing will resolve biology it will digitize their biological system.
Mm.
So it says that number is 666. So what this means is that 666 is the number of
Carbon.
your carbon, which is your foundation, your raw material that everything is made of.
Mm.
So biology itself will be transferred into a digital framework. So that's why it's called the number of a man. It's
Mm.
a digitization of biology by infusing something into the people that project the biology. That's 13. That's chapter 13.